Today I'm going to be talking about overgeneralization, what it is, how this cognitive distortion can fuel depression and anxiety, and what you can do about it. Hi everyone! In today's video, we're going to continue our series on cognitive distortions and the mental shorthand that we often use but can often get us into trouble with situations where we might be experiencing depression or anxiety. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the cognitive distortion of overgeneralization. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about overgeneralization. And so, to explain overgeneralization, I want you to imagine a scenario. Suppose I'm having a bad day and I'm driving home and I'm getting frustrated when I'm driving and I get stopped at a red light. Then I get really upset and really frustrated and I think to myself, I always get stuck at every red light. This is an example of overgeneralization in everyday life. What happens in overgeneralization is that we take a single event and use that single event to represent an invariable and unchanging rule. One negative event becomes a never-ending pattern. So if I make a mistake on one assignment, I'm bound to fail this course. One criticism from my partner is just the start of a series of complaints to follow. A rainy day means that the sun isn't going to come out for the rest of my vacation. If I interview for a job and don't get it, I'll never get a job. These are all examples of overgeneralization. And where overgeneralization comes from is that we all tend to look for patterns in our lives. We all like to see patterns because patterns help us predict what might happen next and to help allow us to plan for the future. But in overgeneralization, what happens is the perceived patterns all tend to be negative. And the danger is that you accept them to be true really before you have any evidence to support whether or not these patterns are true or not. So, what can happen with overgeneralization is that you can tend to end up viewing negative experiences as a set pattern, that's just what's going to always happen. You can also assume that one failure is going to predict ongoing failure in the same activity, in the same task. So for example, if I'm unsuccessful asking a woman out for a date, I'm always going to be unsuccessful asking anyone out on a date. This can also lead to worsening negative self-talk and sort of really getting more critical and harsh with myself. And it can contribute to a feeling that I can't do anything right. So what overgeneralization does is it tends to lead to a person's life getting smaller and more restricted due to faulty beliefs about what they can't do, what they don't like doing, or what they have to avoid doing, or something bad will happen. So you can see how this type of cognitive distortion can lead to feelings of hopelessness, anxiety, and social situations, and excessive worry. And so that's why overgeneralization tends to be seen a lot in people who are experiencing depression, social anxiety, and generalized anxiety disorder. So if you catch yourself engaging in this overgeneralization, what can you do about it? How do you short circuit this? How do you stop engaging in overgeneralization? Well, the first is you need to recognize when you're engaging in overgeneralization and paying attention to those signs of overgeneralization beliefs. Now, the thing with overgeneralization that's useful is that there are usually some key words that indicate when you're engaging in overgeneralization. So some of these key words are things like always, never, all the time. When you catch yourself using these words, it's usually a red flag that you're engaging in overgeneralization. Do I always get stuck at every red light every single time? Do people never reach out to me to get together? Is my partner upset with me all the time? So you probably get a sense by the way I'm emphasizing those words. If you ask yourself those questions, you know what the answer is. You know that the answer isn't true. And so if you can find examples of any situations that show that these beliefs are not true all the time, what it does is it immediately changes the nature of the thought. And you get to a much more sort of realistic or balanced thought. Yes, my partner is upset with me now, but for much of the past week, we've gotten along pretty well. That's a much different type of thought than my partner is always upset with me. So the key point with overgeneralization, the key point to remember is there are absolutely no absolutes. So watch out for absolute types of thinking. And when you catch yourself overgeneralizing, ask yourself, is this true? And try to think of examples when things went well rather than just the negative outcomes. And so with overgeneralization, if you can just find one example that doesn't support the overgeneralized belief, then what it does is it means that that entire belief is untrue. So if there's ever been a time where I didn't get stopped at a red light, what it means is that the belief that I always get stopped at a red light is completely untrue. So keep an eye out for those key words to help identify and challenge overgeneralization. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you a better sense or idea of how overgeneralization works and how it might contribute to feelings of depression or anxiety. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.